I'd like to bring up Michelle Boehm at this time, who is kind enough to join us, and she is with the authority. She is the director of the Southern California District, but she's the big cheese for Southern California, and I'm okay, very excited to have her here. Michelle?
Hi, thanks a lot. One thing, obviously, that thank you so much for all of you who stuck with us today. You know, we are so dependent on the things that you're doing to be able to carry our programs forward. It's a pleasure to be able to come in and talk with you kind of, when we get to the dark 30 part of this, the folks that are still here, you're true believers. So I really appreciate it. One of the things that I observe, and it's been talked about by our other speakers today, is the importance of these coalitions and the importance of broadening these coalitions. For many, many years, we've very, very excitedly talked to ourselves about how wonderful transportation is. And that has gotten us a long way, but it's not going to get us over the hump that we face right now. It's not going to get us through the 21st century. And so we have to start thinking a lot about how we frame our conversations about transportation to be more inclusive. And another thing that I observe is that in a lot of our transportation discussions, we even get much more specific and modal in our discussions, and we often end up with different modes of transportation competing against one another for airspace or funding. And so we're actually dividing the voice that we have in transportation, because some people believe in buses and some people believe in highways and some people believe in high-speed rail. And I think at this point, it's really important that we start to tell the story about how every piece of transportation makes the other better. That if we have a true integrated multimodal transportation system, each piece is carrying the weight and doing what it does best, so that then the other doesn't have to do something that it isn't very good at. And if we can start telling that story to people, I think that's what we really need to start seeking in the 21st century. And that's the kind of message that I think will draw other advocates, other groups of supporters into the discussion. In the previous discussion about the benefits, I think we really need to focus on what those benefits of high-speed rail, of bus service, of a truly integrated transportation system really are. And we need to start fine-tuning that for what the public is really looking to hear from us. Because when we talk, when we get together with policy folks and we talk about transportation, we talk about it in certain ways that sometimes I think create a barrier for the general public to really understand, what is the benefit to me? How does deploying, our time and treasure to devote to these transportation projects ultimately result in how I deploy my own personal time and treasure and benefit me, so that I'm either spending less time or I'm expending less treasure, so there's a benefit to me there. Those are the things that we really need. We talked about doing research projects and coming up with information and studies about, what's available, what the opportunities are at station locations. Those are the kinds of things that, metro, high-speed rail, we really rely somewhat on some of your advocacy to get those types of things done, because typically our funds are very, very closely monitored and prescribed to building our project, as they should. That is our mission and that is our objective, but we don't have the opportunity to do that. So how do we maybe look at a situation where some of that activity then perhaps is getting married with our academic institutions, right? So that we're broadening kind of the amount of people who are engaged in that, and our ability to create that type of information. That's important as we build our message moving forward. So those are some of the things that, that I really think about when I think about transportation advocacy. We have all got to be into transportation mode blind. We have got to be advocates for all transportation deployed in the right way. We cannot ignore anything. That is a really, really big key. We've got to have a compelling message, right? What is the benefit, and what does that mean to, the individual, at the end of the street? How do they actually embrace that? And what is the business proposition of transportation? I think we often lose sight of the fact that transportation is a key component of commerce. And commerce is a key component of our economy. And we lose track a little bit of that. We perhaps lose track a little bit of how important, our visitors are to the state here and to the nation as a whole, and the entire business associated with that. And so how do we really capture those things and move them forward? And then how do we capture people's imagination? It is astounding to me that we are building this big, wonderful project in California. We're bringing trains to California that can beat Formula One race cars. There is nothing not cool and sexy about that. Why is it so uncool? Why are we not able to get that message across? And I think, there are a lot of reasons, there's a lot of discussions about it, but at the end of the day, infrastructure is a key and critical component of everything we do and everything we think about. And I think that we can find advocates for infrastructure, and we really need to start reaching across divides to make sure that we're getting advocates from wherever they sit, because of the big ideas behind what we're doing and how important it is to our future. So those are my thoughts. Thanks.